This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
We'll talk fish, we'll talk elk, we'll talk grouse, and we even talk to a state representative next. Welcome into Sports Source Wild. I'm Bob Hodge along with Joe Justice. And today we got a ton of stuff we want to talk about.
A hodgepodge, I guess.
Yes, a
Bob Hodgepodge.
A Bob Hodgepodge. Probably shouldn't have advertised it that way. That'll make people go, oh no. So anyway, the hodgepodge is everything from laws that could be coming to Tennessee, possibly, to a law that could be coming to Kentucky, to a lot of people have gotten together and looking for somebody who poached an elk.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And we're going to be talking about all that. And before we get into it, we want you to like, to subscribe, to comment under this. Just like and subscribe. You don't have to comment. That's not part of it.
Catch us every week.
You know, and we're even going to be getting into reading comments on air. It's going to be coming pretty soon. So all the people who comment and they're under little oddball nicknames like
usernames,
Denzi somebody. Anyway, we'll be talking about him here in the future. But let's get into this right quick, Joe.
All right.
First thing is things happening in the state of Tennessee. And one of the things that's coming out of the legislature, and I shouldn't say it's coming out, it may not ever get out, may not become
proposed.
Law. But they are people who want to allow the use of drones to recover your deer.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It makes it so much simpler, especially in thicker cover. There's not much technically designated CRP in Tennessee, but you get out in the Midwest, Kansas, those places like that, there's huge expanses of grass, and you can get lost in them. And if you shoot a deer and it runs in there, I mean, a drone would be 1,000% more effective.
But not everybody's for it.
Well,
and the reason is there is a theory out there. You know, up until recent years, TWRA, they could walk on your property. Didn't have to knock, didn't have to tell you they were coming. They could just come in, walk on your property. That was, at the time, thought to be within the law. Well, nowadays, if TWRA comes on your property, they got to tell you they're coming on your property.
That hasn't been that long ago that came about. They just changed
it hasn't been that long ago.
2 years, maybe 3, if that.
Yeah, I mean, it hadn't been long at all. But a lot of people think this could be TWRA's way of wanting to come back on your property, except instead of feet, they would be using drones. And I'm like you. Personally, I think if you've got a drone and it's got thermal imaging on that drone.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I mean, there is nothing worse for a deer hunter, I don't think, than to lose a deer.
No, and it happens. If you hunt enough, it's going to happen.
If you hunt enough, it's going to happen. I mean, I've missed a lot of deer in my time, and I'll take that clean miss any day.
100%.
Over the one that you know you didn't miss and you never find it. I mean, that's a terrible feeling.
So how do people parlay the fact that you can use a drone to go help us recover a deer into the fact that they think TWA is going to start using them to watch us, spy on us?
They
could do that now if they want.
I don't know. Technically, I don't know if you can or not. I don't think you can, because would that not be coming onto your property without permission?
I think there's a certain height they have to fly. I don't know.
You know,
but I think it's interesting.
Well, I'm pretty sure if I'm in the stand and there's a drone that's been sitting up there for 10 minutes and it hadn't been moving, that okay, that ain't somebody just out flying a drone. So we'll see where that one goes. Another bill's been proposed. I kind of like this one. Bill's been proposed down in Nashville that if you have an adopted child, and lots of times adoptions come later in life through foster care and that sort of thing, that you have up until the age of 13 to buy that adoptive child a lifetime license at the same price that most people get for infants.
Really?
And I think that's a good idea.
I think it's awesome. Get more licensed hunters out there.
Yeah.
The lifetime license program in the state of Tennessee it's huge. You can get your newborn in for, used to be $200. I think it's $300 now, something like that.
I can't even remember because
Maybe I
it's been a
shouldn't
long
speak
time
to a
since I had a
number, but-
newborn. Although I do have a newborn granddaughter, and come to think of it, Christmas is now taken care of.
A lifetime license would be a great present.
Because it ain't like she's going to be disappointed with that piece of paper. We're going to be a little ways off until she actually knows. And then there's another one, and this has a little bit more to it. It is a bill been introduced to allow ballot initiatives in the state of Tennessee. And I think a lot of people, if you follow what goes on in other states, and you see places like Colorado, California, et cetera, not limited to those states, you get a certain number of signatures backing a proposal, it goes on the ballot, and people vote on it.
Kind of like wolves in Colorado.
Kind of like wolves in Colorado. There you go. And I think off the top of my head, I go, well, I like that sort of thing. That makes democracy a little bit more right there, and we all get to participate. But has been seen in other states, lots of times you can get enough signature to do things like wolves in Colorado, cougars out west.
Well, yeah, they just had that with the cougar hunting too. Actually, mountain lion hunting, whatever.
You can put that on a ballot, and people can say, nope, I'm voting against it. I don't want you out there hunting these things. And so it looks great, I think, on the surface. But then I think it also opens up a little bit of a...
Make it more cumbersome?
Well, kind of opens up maybe potential Pandora's box. Because you've got people out there, I mean, face it, hunters are the minority in the state of Tennessee. I don't think most people care really one way or the other, but I think there's people out there that say, no, we don't want this, and they tell their neighbor who really don't care, you don't want them shooting them pretty wolves.
I could see that happening.
You know.
And what if somebody came up and said, no, you can't fish around our docks? You get a ballot of everyone on Tellico Lake.
Exactly. Everybody on the lake is going to say, nope, we don't want you here. So those are just some of the things going on down in the legislature. There's other things going on that are just interesting. You came up with one from your home state of West Virginia.
I am a West Virginia native. Mountains are true to my heart, but also true to my heritage. There's still some things that happen that you just can't make this up. So recently in West Virginia, I think it was a week or so ago, a gentleman decided...
And I'm chuckling because I know where this is going.
A gentleman decided that apparently he wanted to pick up a deer on the side of the road, which is not illegal. Pick up a roadkill deer to use it. It must have been fresh.
You can do it here in the state of Tennessee all day long.
A lot of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
But the manner in which he did it was unusual. He wrapped it in his seatbelt, his driver's side seatbelt, closed the door, and let the deer drag alongside of his vehicle. So obviously it's going to get police attention if they see you dragging a deer down the road.
Typically dragging a deer or anything down the road is going to get somebody's attention.
So this guy was 63 years old, driving down the road with a deer hanging out his door, attached by his driver's side seatbelt, with no shirt on. Snow, cold, led the police across 2 counties, Mason and Jackson. They finally had to stop him with spike strips before they could get him. So he didn't know why he did it. The police didn't know why he did it. But apparently he just wanted that deer.
How fast can you drive with a deer dragging out beside your car?
I have no idea.
You need spike strips to stop
I have
somebody.
no idea, but he was on the lam. So.
Or he was on the deer.
But here's one of the most interesting things about it. Guess what his name was? His first name was Buck. So you really can't make this stuff up.
I was going John Doe.
Well, John Doe or whatever. So the buck really did stop there.
Yeah. Or it didn't stop there until you got to the spikes to blow out the tires.
They got their man. Anyway.
So we got one more from not around here. This is out in Oregon. And I don't really know what to think about this. I think it's probably a good thing. But they have just upped in Oregon. If you go fishing and you come by my house and you open the live well and I'll look down there and say, man, that is a fine mess of crappie, Joe. And you say, yeah, we went 2 over the limit. It was accidental, but blah, blah, blah. And then you leave my house and I get on the phone. I could make, if I'm in Oregon, $400.
So is this like a poacher tip reward?
It is a reward for turning in poachers.
I know some states have a hotline.
And you can get, and last year, the state of Oregon, and I thought this is pretty, they've raised it. It was $200. Now you can get $400. Now, I don't know about the Justice household, but around the Hodge household, $400 is money.
So let's figure that out. 32,400 gazenda.
32,000.
So you're looking at probably
800.
800.
800. At $400 a throw, you had 800 people that were turned
800. Okay, I see what you're saying.
That were turned
I was still doing the math.
Yeah.
I'm back up there trying to take my shoes
No,
off.
hold it. That was at the old one. That was at 200. So that was 1,600
Oh, wow.
people. And what it is, I'll just read it right here. It's for snagging fish, releasing non-native species into a lake or stream.
Ooh.
Which, I mean, is that really, people like to do that?
They do out west. They're putting largemouth in places and
Okay, there
northern
you go.
pike and things like that. I mean, smallmouth in places where they're not supposed to be, not largemouth. But I've seen several instances where people are backpack stalkers, you know.
Yeah, well, there you go. And the basic keeping over the limit. So you can make $400.
You better watch you catching crappie this spring. That's all I can
Well,
tell
I
you.
tell you what, I think
I'm going to be dialing some people up.
If that comes to the state of Tennessee, there'll be a lot of people making $400 a throw on their next door neighbor. Hey, great mess of fish. Hey, TWRA.
I'll be busy on the dove field, I can tell you that.
So, anyway, speaking of wildlife violations, and this is much, much, much closer to home. Past week, up on Royal Blue, because I can't never remember to say the North Cumberland.
What's in the Red Ash area, yeah.
Just go up there with Royal Blue. Somebody poached an elk. I don't know if it was a bull or cow.
It looked like a young one from the picture, I could tell.
It didn't look like a big elk, but there is now, thanks to your chapter of NWTF,
Pine Mountain Longbeards.
Longbeards,
And Cora.
the CORA, which is the Campbell Outdoor Recreation Association, and the founders of our feast, the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, have got together $3,000. And if you have information that can lead to the arrest of the people who poached this elk, you get $3,000, which is even better than $400 for turning in your buddies in Oregon.
But who would go shoot an elk in February? Well, I guess a poacher, but I'm just saying, I don't know.
And here's the thing, and you tell me what you think about this. We both saw pictures of the elk. It was missing its back hams, and it was missing its back straps.
Yeah.
Couldn't really tell if anything else had been taken or not.
They got the meat.
They got the meat. And I don't know how to say this without sounding like a jerk, but you know what? When you sit there and you find these animals, which cost the state of Tennessee a lot of money to get back here, which because of things outside of anybody's control, the numbers have not taken off the way that it was hoped a quarter century ago when elk were first reintroduced back in the state.
Yep.
You know, the numbers are low. There's not going to be new elk coming in anytime soon, at least not as far as I know.
None.
So you got to grow the herd with what you got. So it is a terrible thing.
Limited number of tags.
Limited number, 5 every year, maybe 6. I can't remember exactly what. But I'm going to give these people this much credit. At least they didn't shoot it, lay it, sit there, and let it rot. Now I hope they get busted.
Oh, I do too.
I hope they pay every fine coming their way. I hope they have to pay a big restitution number. I hope they lose their hunting rights and their fishing rights for years and years and years. By no way am I condoning that. But when lots of times it is somebody out, they see a deer, or it's happened with elk too, and they just shoot it and they let it lay.
Right.
And it goes to waste. I hope the TWRA finds these people. I hope that meat is in their freezer, and I hope that meat goes to feed some folks who need something to help them have dinner.
I would imagine that's what happened. I mean, they did just leave it. It wasn't like a thrill kill. I don't know. It kind of seems to me like they needed the meat, or took the opportunity to get the meat.
Or just took the opportunity to get some elk meat without having to wait to get drawn for an elk tag, which can take a lifetime in the state of Tennessee, or never, exactly. Or you don't have to pay big bucks to go out west and pay for a tag or wait to get drawn and all of the stuff that goes in with it. So, that is the tiniest in my mind of mitigating factors when it comes to this.
It's tough. I mean, I've put in for 3 states this year. Virginia now has an elk season. Kentucky has an elk season. Tennessee. So I'm trying to get drawn in all 3 states. And to see somebody just do a drive-by or however they did it, it's kind of disheartening. It's just...
Well, and here's the thing.
I don't even know how to word it, but if you're going to shoot one, at least take the meat. I'll give them that. I don't like it.
I
don't like either way.
That is the only thing I'm giving them.
Right.
At least they didn't sit there and turn it into coyote bait. Okay? And once again, somebody writes in saying, you're holding up for the poacher. No, not at all. I'm just saying if somebody is going to do that, and I think history tells us people are going to do that, at least they made use of the animal. That's a poor old buck up there in West Virginia. I'm thinking
he wanted him a deer, didn't he?
He was taking that deer home. And, don't want to get back into that, but what'd they charge him with?
He did a drive-by, fleeing the police.
Fleeing?
He actually got 3 different law enforcement agencies involved because he crossed county lines. And
so if he would have just stopped, they would have just said, hey, Buck, put the deer in your trunk and go on home. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, this elk, up there at Royal Blue, and once again, thanks to the Pine Mountain Longbeards chapter NWTF, thanks to Cora, which is the reason the elk are up there, or thanks to Cora, the Campbell Outdoor Recreation Association. It's the only reason they're there to begin with, and the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. If you know the guys who got this meat in their freezer, give them a call and you may be $3,000 richer.
Well, how about this? One of the programs that TWF offers is the Hunters Helping the Hungry. I'm sure they could find some ground venison to give somebody if they're in that much need of meat.
Oh, I think if I'm going to guess this wasn't somebody in need of meat. I think this was probably somebody who, okay, they did take the meat, but I'd say this is just somebody who thought they had an opportunity to shoot an elk, had an opportunity to get the elk meat, and to this point, as of we know today, have gotten away with it. So we'll see where it goes.
It is kind of odd because it wasn't a bull.
Yeah.
Didn't have a
rack.
They
weren't hunting a trophy.
So they weren't looking for the rack. So it makes me wonder, given the size of that elk, is there a wounded cow somewhere over the bank, down over the hill that got away?
No, there you go.
Why would they stop at one if they're going to be that bold?
Yeah, and usually this time of year, if you're going to find one, you're not going to find.
They're going to be a bunch of them.
There's going to be several of them around there. So
they're looking for green stuff, and this was shot in one of TWA's food plots that they have up there. The chances of one just standing out by itself, it happens. It's just
it does happen. So if you're looking for $3,000, I could use $3,000 right now. I wish this person had called me and said, hey, Bob, I'd shot this elk. And I go, man, and then call TWR. That's even better than $400 for a fish in Oregon.
And it seems like the guys that do this kind of thing, they can't keep their mouth shut.
No, they can't.
They're going to talk about it.
That is an amazing thing.
They're going to talk about it.
They are going
to put it on Facebook.
They're going to tell somebody. And that somebody, let's face it, is probably going to tell somebody. And hopefully they've left this little trail of verbal breadcrumbs, and it leads right back to them, and they get, once again, everything that's coming to them. Restitution, and take that hunting license and say, next time you guys are hunting, you're going to have beards the color of Joe and Bob's. So there you go.
Mine's just plain Snow White.
Yeah. So, it is, the Wildlife Federation is pitched in on this, and as everybody knows, we've got a partnership with the Wildlife Federation. And this is sort of the things that they do. They have their fingers in a whole lot of pies, especially what we're getting ready to talk about here in just a second, because they do a lot of habitat work all across the state. And yeah, somebody poaches an elk and you're looking for reward money, TWF is there to help out with that, so the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. And because we work closely with them, that's the reason we want people, once again, like, subscribe. You can dislike and subscribe. And as you well know, it doesn't cost you a nickel.
Not at all.
to subscribe.
That was an epiphany I had just a few weeks ago.
There you go.
It don't cost a thing.
And show them what the email
here we go.
address is. If you want to fire us an email at sportsourcewild@gmail.com, send us anything you want to. Gosh, you guys are great. Gosh, you guys are gotten a lot older since you were on the radio. Just anything you want to do, send it to us at sportsourcewild@gmail.com. And Joe, that brings us to something. You told me about this earlier this week, and it was really interesting.
Well, we're talking about laws and regulations and changes and additions and that kind of thing.
And we had talked about grouse just a few weeks ago, and
Talked
how
about grouse.
populations aren't what they used to be, although you know grouse hunters that are still finding grouse.
Right.
You know,
Although not to the numbers that were early 2000s or that kind of thing. There's still some grouse out there, but they're in need of help. I mean, they need habitat improvement. They need a lot of things. They need a little more studying. We need to figure out what exactly is causing the decline all up and down the Appalachian region. And one thing that kind of came up, it was on a grouse hunters network or page, or I follow all those just to kind of get the skinny on things.
Yeah.
And this is Kentucky, but it does kind of pertain to us because this could kind of bleed over in the way our laws are made or the decisions behind them. So House Bill 458 was put out by House of Representatives, a member from...
Now, let's be clear, in Kentucky.
This is in Kentucky
In
now.
Kentucky.
The Bluegrass State, our
Yep.
neighbor to the north. Which, like TWA, I think Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Service does a great job managing the deer, the turkey, the elk. I think they do a phenomenal job. I love to hunt in Kentucky. I do. I just dropped a bunch of money on a spring turkey hunting license up there. I'm still kind of cringing. But no, what it came out was House Bill 458. The House representative from Eastern Kentucky, up around Louisa, up in that way, up near the Huntington, West Virginia border, up in that way, proposed the following changes for the grouse season. Right now, let's just recap. In Kentucky, you can hunt till February 28th.
Like in Tennessee.
Just like in Tennessee. In Kentucky, you're allowed 4 birds a day.
Like in Tennessee.
Possession limit of 8. So basically, every possession limit is usually twice your daily, generally.
Right.
There's no season limit. What this bill would have, they would change the season to October 1st through January 31st. So they're cutting off that February period, right?
Right.
So that shortens the time that you have to be in the woods. And why is that important? It's because a lot of deer seasons are going on. That is your time to get in and grouse hunt without interfering other hunters or having any worries about contacting other hunters.
Yep.
So that's potentially could be wiped off the board for our neighbors in Kentucky. Changing the bag limit daily to 1 bird. One bird. So the next thing is the season cap, not the possession limit, for the whole season, for the whole year, you're allowed 4. And those 4 that you take, they want you to telecheck those birds in just like you would do big game, like a bear, a deer, or a turkey.
Wow. I need to read when you sent me this closer. Because I was looking at this so 4 per season.
Per season, that's it.
Wow.
4. Now, I don't think there's a lot of guys going out there killing 4 a day with any regularity up there. It could still be done.
Right.
This is huge, and that's a huge grab to take away a lot of what the grouse hunters are able to do right now. And
so you, even though, and we talk about it, even though grouse numbers are down, you don't like this.
Well, this is just my opinion. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a lot of things, but I'm a hunter.
And you've stayed in Holiday Inns.
Twice, actually, in the last month. But what I've seen is generally if you give up ground and you lose hunting privileges, outdoor rights,
days, bag limits,
seasons, different animals to hunt, that doesn't come back. So if you drop down to, say, 1 bird a day, they're not going to just have this epiphany 3 years from now and say, oh, let's bring that back up to 4. That traction is gone. It's going to be down low at 1 bird, 4 per year, in perpetuity probably, unless they do more studies and that kind of thing. This bill's got a lot of resistance. It's a lot of noise about it.
But you talked to the guy who introduced the bill into the Kentucky legislature.
Well, my question on this is they have a committee, just like we do here in Tennessee.
Sure.
Fish and Wildlife Committee, 8 members. And I couldn't find any involvement from them. I couldn't find where they put anything forth. So it appeared to me that there was no biological reason for these changes to be proposed in Kentucky. None. Matter of fact, a lot of the studies that are out there, the Appalachian Grouse Research Project, even though it's a little dated, it finished up in like 2009, I think, it showed that hunters had no impact. So in other words, it wasn't additive. When they're out there hunting and you shoot a grouse, it's not a direct detriment to the population.
Right.
So that's been studied and been shown several times over. So I made some calls yesterday. Started with the biologists. I tried to get hold of the ruffed grouse turkey biologist. They have a dedicated biologist just for ruffed grouse and turkey, because as you know, turkey numbers seem to be on the decline, and Kentucky is one of the states where they seem to be experiencing that. So they have someone designated to look after that. They also have a small game biologist, who I did talk to. And great conversation. I never could get a hold of the grouse biologist. I did talk to the political liaison for Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. Actually, I did leave a message. I did not hear back from her. And I also called the representative in the Kentucky House that put this bill forward. And I'll be daggone if he didn't call me back today.
Well, there you go.
So I can't besmirch the others.
He gets your vote, which would be illegal, but go ahead.
That's true. I mean, we're not even talking about voting. We're going to leave that alone. But interesting conversation. He started out saying, hey, I've got a lot of pushback on this. My intentions were good. And it's just like I had thought. This was brought to him some constituents, some members of his community.
Grouse hunters who weren't seeing grouse.
Said, hey, this is what I think we should do.
Yeah.
And with good intentions, he put this forth with no biological backing or reasoning and that kind of thing. So that's the light at the end of the tunnel with this, is he's saying, hey, I'm getting a lot of pushback. So you know what else he did that I found fascinating? And I actually talked to a politician. That amazes me.
Yeah.
He called me back, He cares what I'm saying. And I did tell him I wasn't a Kentuckian, but I did enjoy hunting in his state. But he said he has since talked to Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, to the biologist, and realizes that habitat is much more important. And clear cuts are a factor in that habitat restoration. He talked about areas that have been involved in fire, tornadoes, which I thought interesting that he mentioned tornadoes, but he said clear cuts in general. So we talked about that a little bit. I talked to him a little bit about successional growth, how important that is to stagger your cuts to give not only grouse, but even the endangered warblers. There's a lot of songbirds that benefit from early successional growth, butterflies, deer, elk, everything.
Yes.
So,
well, I mean, that's just it. When you do stuff for the things, and I don't want to come out, when you do the stuff for the things at the bottom, it helps everything throughout the system.
Exactly.
Throughout the entire ecosystem.
It's just
so
a
if you're
ripple
helping
effect.
a grouse, you're helping a turkey, you're helping a deer, and you're helping the warblers. I remember when you couldn't go a month in the News Sentinel without seeing somebody do a story on
the cerulean warbler.
the cerulean warbler. Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, what do you know about them? They don't taste good.
They're really small. They're hard to hit on the wing.
They're hard to hit.
But it's interesting because I saw this and I thought, oh no, what if Tennessee kind of adopts a plan like this? That's what kind of piqued my ears up, especially since we had just recently talked about grouse and the need for things to be done and improvements in national forests and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's light at the end of the tunnel. The fellow that put the bill forth kind of realized, hey, I was trying to do something good. And he honestly did have good intentions. He just wanted to help out.
Well, and what you like about that is this makes somebody on this one issue, somebody that you'd like to support because he did it. He got pushed back and he realized where he was wrong. And like we talked about, with Mike Crothers just a few weeks ago, the habitat work that no longer gets done, and people look at it and say, well, they're just logging that forest. Yeah, they're taking the logs out, they're taking the wood out, but it does serve a purpose. And just like, nobody's going to want to see a forest fire burn forever, but forest fires do serve a purpose.
Definitely. A controlled burn is unbelievably beneficial.
And it's good that he had talked to you and was able to put that stuff together. So
I felt important.
Habitat improvement, there you go. First time in your life, congratulations.
And one other thing too, those trees grow back.
Oh yeah,
Everybody
they do.
seems to forget that.
They do.
It's a crazy thing.
My granddad and your granddad were probably cutting down trees that now when they've grown back, they're yay big around.
Oh yeah.
Now I know a lot of people don't get that. But if you're talking about habitat, the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, that's the people in this state who do a lot of it, not all of it, but they're involved in a lot of it. So we want you to support the Wildlife Federation. Joe, thank you very much, because as always, you come up with really good stuff. The best I could do was fish in Oregon.
Well, there you go. I can't reach around and pat myself on the back.
I'm sorry.
I'm just glad I got a call back from a politician.
And you got a call back from
Faith
a
in
politician,
humanity has been
and he wasn't
restored.
cussing you. So anyway, once again, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you again on Sport Source Wild.